So let's do the negative number. 1 times 10 to the negative 1. Well, that is really 1 divided by 1/10, which numerically is a 0.1. Now that 0.1, how did we get that 0.1? We actually moved the decimal point 1 place over the other way. So it's 1, this is where it was, and now we moved it here. There's already a 1 in the spot, so we just have 0.1 as the answer. So it was not on that side, now it moved to this side. There's no zeros because we moved the spot where the 1 is. So now we do 1 times 10 to the minus 2, which is really 1 over 10 times 10. Similar to what we were doing before, which equals 100th. And if we do a decimal, it's 0.01, 100th. So how did we get that? Well, if we were doing the moving the decimal point, we had a 1. Here was the decimal point. We moved it 2 times the other way, the negative way. So we went 1, 2. Now, there's a 0 and the 1. So it's not that you have 2 zeros there, like multiplying. You move the decimal place 2 times, and one of those times was taken up with the 1. So 1 was taken up with the 1. So now let's do some more so you can see the pattern, same pattern. 1 times 10 to the minus 3 is really 1 divided by 10 times 10 times 10, or 1 over 1,000, or 1,000th, which is 0.001. How do we get, well, we can do the decimal bounce. So we move the decimal point from the 1, and we're going to move it how many times? 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Decimal point is now there. The first space is taken up with the 1, 0, 0. So now we have the answer. There it is, 0.001, where those zeros are filling in those 2 spaces, even though we moved the decimal 3. So just be aware that this number is not the same as the positive number. We'll keep on going. 1 times 10 to the minus 4, and I'm not going to bother with all that. I'm just going to go right over here. Hopefully you follow along the pattern. We're going to move the decimal point how many places? 4 places. So we start off with 1, and I need more space. We start off with 1, and now we're going to move the decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4 times. That's going to be a 0. That's going to be filling up those spaces, and that's going to be a 0. And there's the decimal point right over here. The 1 is there. Decimal point's not there anymore. Make it disappear. There it goes. Oh, made the 1 disappear. My bad. So now the decimal point moved from here 4 times in the negative direction. So now it's not 1,000th, 1/10,000th. In the 10,000th column, 0.00. 10 to the minus 5, 1 times 10 to the minus 5. Same thing. We're going to move the decimal point. We have a 1, and we're going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Zeros are going to fill in those little spots. The 1's already there. So we have 0.000. How many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 zeros and then a 1. But there's a 5. Yeah, we moved it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But one of those moves was taken by the 1. So we have 4 zeros to fill in those spaces. Hence that. And it keeps on going. If you want me to do another one, do one more for giggles, because we did 6 on the other side. So let's move this up. And we do one more. There you go. So we have 1 times 10 to the minus 6. So we're going to start off with the 1, and the decimal point is there. We're going to move it how many times? 6 times. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there is the new decimal point. Guess what goes in those little spots? Zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But Mr. G, I was counting and I thought 6, and I was going to put 6 zeros. Well, look, you have the loops. You're putting zeros where there's a loop without a number. So if there's a loop without a number, you put the 0 there. If there's not a loop, you don't put the 0. So you're putting the zeros in the space that you move the decimal point, but that includes moving it 1 time for the digit over there. So that's what you have to watch out for when you're doing the counting. Do the loops, count the loops. Loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 decimal moves. Fill in the zeros where you need them, and the 1 or whatever number is there stays in that spot. So you move the decimal point 1 extra time than the same number of times, but the number of zeros is 1 less. So if you move the decimal point, you make the loops, and then you put the zeros in the loops, you're not going to get the count wrong. So if you had 10 of them, you don't have to count the zeros. You put zeros in the loops. Right? I'll do it just for giggles. One more giggle. Really big one. 1 times 10 to the, let's go, -9. So that's a millionth, a billionth-ish. Yeah. So let's see how that goes. We're going to start off with the 1. Here's the decimal. We're going to move it. Move decimal how many times? 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There is the decimal point. Now, oh no, I forgot. I turned away and I lost my count because there's so many zeros. Don't worry. All you need to do is put the zeros in the loops. You've shown all your work right there. All you do is just fill in the zeros. They're only zeros. 0 in each loop. Not that one, because there's a 1 in there already. So what's the answer? The answer has how many zeros? Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zeros. And then that extra decimal point to make it the 9, because you moved around the 1. So 8 zeros to the -1. So notice the minuses are smaller numbers. The positive numbers move the decimal the other direction, are bigger numbers. See, so all you need to do is just draw the loops and put in the zeros in the loops, and then you have your answer. If the loops look messy, you can just rewrite it by counting the zeros to know your place. That's it. So good luck.